as a nurse, I always knew about the charity, but I really had no idea what support the charity offered. And so I'd worked in the NHS as an ITU nurse for more than 25 years, and also as a bereavement counsellor for a child bereavement charity in Birmingham. And so I was quite aware of charitable organisations for support anyway. But January 2018, I experienced the sudden death of a very close friend. And it was just like all the stories I hear in my role now. It was unexpected, it was sudden, it was shocking, and it was devastating. And I was there for quite a lot of the time, and I witnessed quite a lot of traumatic things. And although I had been an ITU nurse for all those years, nothing prepared me for what I saw. And at that moment, it changed me forever. She died, and the world continued. And for a moment, I just thought, what am I going to do? I don't know if I can be an ITU nurse. I don't know whether I can be a bereavement counsellor. I felt almost like I was rattling and shaking and shocked for quite some considerable time. And I reached out to the charity really just to get some ideas for fundraising to begin with. I think I'd already arranged to run a half marathon for another cause. And when she died, I thought, yes, let's just do it for the Sepsis Trust. So in the early days, very early days of the grief I felt, I did this half marathon, and I remember I did it in record time. And that was what was behind it. I never ran anything as fast as that again, but I looking back, I was still rattling with grief, and I think a lot of people will understand that phrase. Really, I was literally rattling, and it rattled me around that half marathon very quickly. We raised some money, and it was, you know, it was what a lot of people do, is you throw yourself into a project. Anything really, it can be anything really, but a lot of people throw themselves into something because you've got all this energy to try and use up somewhere. And for me, I was trying to clear my head a bit, and it helped me with my mental health to do that physical activity. So that was my connection to the UK Sepsis Trust. And then after that, I discovered that there was a wonderful support team, and this whole new world opened up to me, and the possibility of doing some work with them. And before I knew it, I thought, oh, I could maybe help them with some volunteer work. I'm a nurse, I'm a counsellor, and I was really fortunate to be invited to be part of the team. Firstly, as a part, well, on a sort of ad hoc basis, and over the last couple of years got a permanent position working for the charity now. So really, for me, my personal connection has come from a really tragic, dark place, but it has turned into something that has become really positive and a real light, like a silver line to the cloud. It really has, because it's changed my life, and it's helped me with my grief as well. It's busy, but it's fantastic. It's, you know, we're in such a privileged position because we can answer the phone and give people support straight away. We can literally pick up the phone, and you can almost hear them, the surprise on the other end of the line, really, that, well, are you a nurse? Can you talk to me now? Yes, we can. And so it's lovely. And that doesn't go, you know, that doesn't, you know, we don't take that for granted, because having worked in the NHS, we know what it's like to work under pressure, to have to wait for things, you know, and as people in our own personal lives, we know what it's like to pick up the phone to access services ourselves, and how difficult and that can be, and how long we have to wait. So we know how privileged we are to be able to do that, and we're just really happy to do that. So really it starts with, you know, we log on, we take live calls on our helpline, we respond to emails. That's lots of emails that come through every day requesting support, one-to-one, over the phone, support groups. We also moderate 2 Facebook groups as well. So social media is really busy all the time. So we like to respond immediately to that as well, and in person. So quite a lot of time is taken up by that now, because we find that it's, rather than respond collectively, we like to be able to respond directly to people, to just give them a bit more of a personal service, really. And we recognise that it's so important. The first contact we have with people makes a big difference with whether people continue to continue that relationship, or, you know, it makes a big difference with whether they take the plunge and think, yes, I'll ask for some support, really. So it's really important, that first sort of contact. So yeah, day in the life of a sepsis support nurse is busy and varied, and you never know what's going to happen. And so I guess half of our day is spent responding to emails, half of it is live calls, and half of it is another bit of it on the end is the social media side. So we provide support on different platforms, really. So as what I've touched on, the social media, email, and one-to-one calls with people. But we also provide support in group formats, and we now weekly have online groups via Zoom for recoveries, people that are recovering from sepsis, and for people that are bereaved from sepsis. And these are run on different days of the week at different times, so we can capture as many people as possible. And it's just a really warm, safe environment for people to come together with other people that have experienced similar things. I tend to facilitate a lot of the bereavement groups. It sounds weird, but it is my comfort zone, because that's my background, and also it's my lived experience really with sepsis. And it's become my passion, really. I absolutely love being able to reach out and support people at this time. I think it's really crucial that people do have that connection, because a lot of people find it's really difficult to find somebody that can really listen and hear what they're saying, and find a space for whatever is happening. So the groups lended themselves really well for that, because you can come together with other people that have gone through similar things. Everybody's different, everyone's experience is unique, but there are definite common themes that people will experience, and sometimes you just need to be with other people that get it. And although their experience will be different, there will definitely be some similarities, and there are some real common themes. The common themes that people tend to come with on the groups are a shared sense of shock and numbness. There's disbelief, and there's a lot of trauma. So firstly, people will quite often feel that they just don't understand what sepsis is. So before even they begin to start the process of grieving, many people feel that they need to understand about what sepsis is. And a lot of people don't understand it properly, and they have lots of questions. And because of the suddenness and the ferocity of sepsis and the speed it can sometimes strike, a lot of people are really, you know, are just struck with, well, this can't be. How can this happen? Why did this happen? this mustn't have happened. Why did it happen? So a lot of people have these questions that it's really important for us to take people through, and often that is the best way to do that is for a phone call first, one-to-one with one of us nurses, just to give people a moment to ask specific, perhaps more complex questions. We can explain to them what sepsis is, how it can happen, how it can present itself, and almost like normalize what people are feeling, and just saying to them, you know, it's okay, you're okay, we understand and get this, and you know, we can help you, you're not alone. Well, the groups are just a lovely, warm, safe space to come together and be with other people that get it. That's what people say all the time. I just need people to get it. That they find that other people in their lives are saying to them, well, you know, saying things to them that don't quite make sense. And a lot of people find that once they come to a group, they're with people that understand, and they don't really have to say much, and everybody in the room knows the pain that they're going through. Once we've unpicked a lot of the medical details, and often we can do that in one of the phone calls, the group is just a way of people to be able to share their story. They can say as little or as much as they want. They don't even have to have their cameras on, although it is nice to have that because it's lovely to be able to engage with people. But it's just a chance for people to hear what's happening to other people and to sort of know I'm not alone. You know, and even, you know, goodness me, you know, this has happened to somebody else, because a lot of people carry the same emotions as well. And it's important to see that in other people to validate how you're feeling, if that makes sense. And, you know, sepsis swoops in so fast and it happens so quickly that people are left with such shock that it's a bit like, we liken it to a car crash, really. And all the people that are affected are like the passengers in the car. So they're not driving the car, they're sort of innocent passengers in the car, and they're having to sort of pick through this wreckage afterwards. And the people on the group all understand what it's like to pick through that wreckage and try and navigate some sort of path forward with it. And it helps if you're with other people that understand that process. And there's people at all different stages of that. And that's really a real comfort to other people, I think, to hear other people's stories. So it isn't a linear process, grief, and a lot of people almost don't know what to expect, and it swoops in and it happens, and then you're left with, well, what do I do now? How am I supposed to be? How do I work through this? Because there's no instruction manual, and you can read all about grief in books and on the internet, but until it happens to you, you just do not know what to expect. And you know, it really can blow your world apart. And it is a process that you have to learn to manage and live with, and that's exceptionally hard and very, very painful. And you know, when people come on the group, some people will say to me, I just want to get back to being me again. I just want to get back to normal. And you know, to begin with, you sort of think that you're going to get back to normal again, and you're going to get back to the person that you were again. But in reality, something so massive that happens to us in our lives, we're never going to be that person again. Now that's not feeling hopeless and pessimistic. That's just the reality, isn't it? Something so huge, you're never going to be the same again. So it's just, I think, for people need to just start to realize and understand and begin to believe that actually I'm never going to be the same again. I'm not going to get over this. I'm not going to recover from this. It's just, I'm, you know, I will build my life around this new status and this new experience, and it's never going to diminish. You don't ever recover from this. You just build around the grief. And I think a lot of people think that what happens is grief just shrinks down, and it doesn't. I think for most people it stays the same, and the intensity changes all the time. People will tell me that from hour to hour they can change emotionally how they're feeling. And we use a lot of imagery on our groups to describe how we're feeling. We talk about waves and rivers, and how the power of changes, and how nice and calm it is one moment, and then you're over a waterfall and it's all very energetic and scary. So grief changes all the time, and I think it can be very, very scary for people. And so to come together with other people and to hear other people say, no, I was like that, and then I felt like this, and then this happened, and then it makes people think, oh, okay, I'm not losing my mind. This is grief. And I think that the beauty of the groups and the beauty of the support that we can give, it just gives people somewhere to port in the storm. They can hold on to a weekly group in their minds, right? Okay, I've got Wednesday for the support group, and you can just hold on to that date and think, okay, I'm having a really awful day, but I'm going to just take a deep breath and just hold on to that and think, right, I've got the group on Wednesday, and I'll bring some of that stuff to the group and share that with the people that are on that group, because I trust them and I'm beginning to know them, and I can do that. And that is, that literally can propel people from one week to the next. It is really a lifeline for some people. And it's it's like a space where people can safely put a bit of the pain down for a while, and it will feel lighter then after the group. It is a mixture, but there are some guys that come on the group very regularly, and it's just it's lovely, because what you have often is people that have been on many groups, and then you have somebody that's on the group for the first time, and then people in between. And what is lovely is the people that have been on the groups many times, they know what it's like to be on a group the first time. We know it's not easy, and normally once you've pressed join, that's the hardest bit, because it's a really brave step to join a group when you don't know what you're stepping into, especially when this is really intimate, personal, emotional experience that you're bringing with you. So we totally get that, but it's nice to have other people in the group that have been there, that have done it already, and can say it's okay, we've done this, we know what it's like. And within a couple of minutes, I think a lot of people just feel really relaxed and okay with it, and one thing I wanted to just say as well is, from a background of more face-to-face counselling, to begin with, a few years back, I was skeptical about how well the groups would work. I thought, well, there's really no replacement for face-to-face support, but I was so wrong. The groups lend themselves so well via Zoom, and no, it's not the same as being in the same room, but actually it sometimes affords a lot more comfort for people, because they're in their own home, they've got their heating on or the fan on, or whatever the weather's like, they've got their cup of tea, they've got their pets, they've got familiar things around them, they can have their own blanket around them, and it makes them more relaxed. And actually, I think it means we get more people onto the groups because of that, really. And obviously we can reach out to people all across the whole country, so I really love it when I can imagine that there are people all over the country tuned in, and we could never have done that before face-to-face groups. So the groups work really well, and the emotion and the warmth really come through. And so, you know, some people will say, no, I think I prefer a face-to-face support, and that's fine. And there is support out there for people on that platform. But I just want people to know how lovely and warm the groups actually are. And, you know, you really build relationships and rapport with people. It's really nice. Yeah, I think the times of the year that people mostly find difficult are the anniversaries, special days, anniversaries, Christmas, Easter, changing of the seasons. It can be anything really, but many people find those times more tricky. Um, and because of that, quite often on the groups we'll be talking about those things. So, you know, we encourage people to bring that to the group, you know, share an anniversary, share something that they're worried about or anticipating is going to be tricky, so we can sort of talk about it together, and people can chip in and say, well, I found this, or I found that this was helpful. And it just sort of takes a bit of the anxiety away from the anticipation of that date. So it could be a birthday, your loved one's birthday, it could be a wedding anniversary, it could be the anniversary of the time that they passed away, it could be, you know, Christmas, and all these dates will bring back memories of previous occasions, and it just can become overwhelming. And I think a lot of people want to recreate past times, but then struggle because they realize that they can't do that without that really special person there. So it's good to be able to come together on the group and talk about that, and float around ideas, and most people find that if we start talking about it as a group, it just gives people a bit of control back, and gives them some ideas. And but it's still going to be really tough. And you know, this is why we have the groups every week, because you know, they're quite regular, and people can pick and choose which groups they'd like to come on. And you know, you might want to pick a group that was close to an anniversary or at the same time away from an anniversary. But certainly when it gets to the autumn months and approaching Christmas, we normally have a sort of Christmas type discussion, really, with how we all feeling about it and the build up, because you know, Christmas starts on the TV in about October, doesn't it? And people really, you know, find that incredibly triggering. And so we talk about it a lot, especially, you know, Christmas a lot. And expectations of other people is another thing that we talk about a lot. And trying to just keep some space for yourself and your own sort of grief without everybody else that, you know, really means well and really cares about us, but trying to suggest what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And you know, we quite often talk about, you know, occasions and Christmases when a bit Vicar of Dibley style, you know, one of the ladies on the group, you know, we laugh because she says it was almost like that, because I could have had about 8 Christmas dinners, like the amount I was invited to, you know. And you know, so there's, you know, on the groups, you know, we have tears, but we also have laughter and fun as well, and you know, a lot of warmth. What I would say to people that have gone through a sepsis bereavement is, you're not alone. We're here to help support. It can be really scary and confusing to begin with, and it can feel just totally overwhelming. And you know, I would just advise anybody to reach out to us, maybe just by email. That's maybe the gentler step, if you like, but just reach out to us and we'll see what we can do to help support you. Um, it, and you know, what I've said before, sepsis is something that not many people know about, and most people need to know the detail about what it is, and seeing what we're up against here, and learning about it does help you understand the reaction that you're having as well. And you know, the biggest advice I can give with anybody that is bereaved is to be kind to yourself and to have an abundance of self-compassion. And I think anyone listening to this will go sort of, oh yeah, I do, I'm okay with myself. But actually, do we really look after ourselves, and are we all always kind to ourselves? Because we can, with sepsis, we can turn a lot of the grief onto ourselves and ask ourselves, you know, why did I let this happen? Why didn't I see it coming? All those sort of should and could questions. And we talk about this on a group quite a lot. And most of the could and should questions lead to negative thoughts, or certainly sort of self-destructive thoughts. But when you're grieving, the shoulds and the coulds are normally always there. And what I just say to people is, you know, when you get those coulds and shoulds in your head, just think to yourself, right, okay, it starts with a could or it starts with a should. Let's do something different and change my sort of thought process, because it you can really eat away at you, and it can make you doubt a lot of things, and that isn't being kind and gentle to yourself. Because what we're up against is a really monstrous, cruel, indiscriminate condition that swoops in and takes our loved ones. And going back to the car analogy, we weren't driving the car, the sepsis was driving the car. What I would say to people that know people that are bereaved is reach out to them, speak to them, speak about the person that has died. It's so important. The worst has happened to that person, and so many people say that they experience other people not talking to them, or not speaking about their loved one, or being scared about upsetting them. Well, the worst has happened. You're not going to say anything that's going to upset them. The worst has happened. But it's more upsetting that people don't mention it, or don't even, you know, don't seem to be reaching out. I think a lot of people are scared of grief, and people that are grieving, so can come across as avoiding that person. And so, but what that person wants more than ever really is just some acknowledgement and some kindness. And for most people, they can't, they want the world to talk about their loved one, and they want their name to be said, and they want them to be present still and never forgotten. And so mentioning them, is a wonderful thing to do. And you know, I think it is quite brave. You know, you do have to be quite brave, I think, for people that haven't experienced this to say that. I understand that it can be quite difficult, but I think, you know, just don't ever feel worried about talking about people, because it's the number one thing that a lot of people say to me, really. And you know, and instead of saying, you know, how are you? I think people say to me, everyone keeps saying, how are you? Well, you know, I'm absolutely grief stricken and heartbroken and devastated. So, you know, people on the group will say to me, people need to say, how are you today? Because that's much better. That's easier to answer. How are you today? Because today might be different than yesterday or tomorrow. But saying, how are you today, makes people, it sort of acknowledges that this is ever changing. You're feeling different at different times on different days. So just saying, how are you today, is perfect. And just, you know, just reaching out to people is just so important. So today, I feel that every day I work for the charity and the support I give to others, I feel that I am doing something sort of for her. I feel that I am giving something back. I am, in helping others in this situation. It's helpful for me to feel that I'm doing something positive, and I wanted more than anything to try to raise awareness for sepsis and save lives like her life. And so every day that I'm talking to people, I feel I'm doing that. And so it it's been really instrumental in my grief, and it helps me every single day. But there are times when it's really tough, and I hear stories all the time that mirror her story, and it's tough, it's hard, and I have to make space for me and what I feel. I have to take my own medicine, the same as I tell everybody else. But being part of the group and facilitating the group is so helpful when you've been there and you've experienced things the same as everybody else on the group. So although I'm there on the group facilitating the group, I'm there as a bereaved person as well. And so you share what other people are feeling, and like I've said before, it's just a huge privilege, and I feel really blessed that I can do this work.